Hi and welcome back to the cottage. Today I'm going to share 19 minimalist tips that can help you simplify your space. I know plenty of people who say that they would like to simplify their homes and their life, but they don't want to go as far as living like a minimalist, and that's fair. It's not for everyone. But one thing I think we can all agree on is that we don't want our homes or our spaces to be a disaster. We don't want to be embarrassed by them when someone stops by unannounced. And so what are some things that you can do, even if you're not wanting to be highly simplified and live that minimalist life? What are some things that we can do to simplify our homes, to keep them under control and at least manageable so that they don't become overwhelming for us? So today I have 19 different tips taken from my perspective as a minimalist that can really help anyone, whether you live in a small apartment or a large home. The first tip is if you take something out, put it back again. And this is very basic advice. It's probably something that you learned back in kindergarten, but it is easier said than done because the first step you need to take is to establish a place for everything to belong. And if you live with other people, whether you have a family or a roommate, you need to talk about this together and agree upon a spot for each thing, and then also agree to put them back in that spot. It's just going to make it so much easier for people to find things when they need them because they know exactly where it is, and then they know exactly where to put it back as well. And this goes in line with tip number 2, which I think is one of the most overlooked recommendations when it comes to simplifying your home, and that is to gather like items, consolidate them into one centralized location in your home or your space. So what I mean by this is if you have things like light bulbs or batteries or pencils and pens and even some medications, having them in a central area where everyone can access them is very helpful. Using this technique, you'll know exactly when the inventory of a certain item is low and you need to buy some replacements, and you also won't be buying duplicates of things that you already have plenty of. And also it makes it easy for everyone to access, and so they're not going to be digging through different spaces to try to find these things. Tip number 3 is to beware of extra fussiness. We all want our spaces to be comfortable and to look nice, and so we add things such as throw pillows or cozy blankets, accent rugs, or thick drapery curtains. And these are all things that need to be cleaned around and maintained, and they can actually hinder us from doing other things like making our bed. If we have 25 pillows on our beds, it's going to be really a hassle to make it, and so we probably just won't even bother. And so really do an evaluation of your space and decide if you have some extra fussiness that you could get rid of. Tip number 4 is to stop relying so much on storage. I personally think that if you live in a home with very little behind closed door storage, you have a leg up in the simplicity department because storage gives us that false sense of security that if it fits in there, I can still keep it. But we're not really thinking about what we are keeping. Many times we have boxes or bins full of things that we haven't looked at in years, and we really need to do some thinking about and evaluating if we really need to keep these things or if they're just taking up space. So don't rely so much on your storage. Think about what you are using currently in this moment in time and put the priority on that. The 5th way that you can simplify is to give yourself space to work. Have you ever felt the frustration of not being able to find a parking spot? That's the same feeling that we get when we have no clear horizontal surfaces to use. If our counters, our tables, our desks are filled up with clutter or just items sitting there, we then can't use that space as a working space, which is what their intention truly is. And so these horizontal spaces are notorious for collecting piles, and we need to be very mindful to not do that. Which brings me to tip number 6, and that is to stop allowing piles. Piles are the easiest things to create, but they are extremely difficult to get rid of once they've been created. The layers, the horizontal layers of this pile really makes it feel like an archaeological dig if you need to get something from near the bottom. So for a laundry pile, there might be a shirt near the bottom that you plan to wash and have cleaned up by a certain day of the week. And in a paper pile, that might be a bill or a form that you meant to fill out, but you hadn't gotten around to it yet. So now you're searching through the pile trying to find it. It can be so frustrating to go through these piles. And so the best thing you can do is just not make them in the first place. Tip number 7 is to give yourself some cheater spots. Now, you probably won't hear many minimalists giving this particular advice, but I am personally keenly aware that it's not possible to do things perfectly 100% of the time, and there needs to be a little bit of grace for ourselves in our lives. And so these cheater spots are meant as temporary areas, temporary holding spaces for a short period of time. One that you are probably most familiar with is the dishwasher, which is really a cheating spot to put dishes until you're ready to wash them. And I think that is totally okay. I know some people recommend to wash dishes as you use them. I personally think that that would be just complicating life. One cheater spot that we've established in our home is a basket that we have under our vanity sink in our master bathroom. And that is where we put our pajamas, we put clothes that we've worn before, maybe the day before, and we want to wear it again. We're not going to put it back in our closet, we're just going to wear it again the next day. So instead of throwing it on the back of a chair, we have it in this contained basket. So establishing these cheater spots I think is okay. Just remember, these are only temporary, maybe just a day or two maximum, and things should always be moving in and out of them so they're not creating what we talked about in the last tip, those piles. The 8th tip is to pare down your wardrobe. It will be helpful to you in simplifying your space if you pare down really all of your belongings to a manageable level, but a good place to start is with your clothing. So go to your clothing and make some decisions about what you are actually wearing now and what is just kind of being stored there as either a memory or something you hope to fit into eventually. Be honest with yourself of what you're actually wearing. And when you pare down your wardrobe, you're going to have much more space in your closet and your drawers, and realize that that extra space is going to make things so much easier for you, so much more simple when it comes to picking clothing to wear for your day. You know that everything fits and everything that you kept looks good on you and you feel great in, and so you can't really make a bad decision. And once you've gotten things down to a manageable level, it's going to be important to keep it at that spot. And so you're going to want to set some limits for yourself. In your closet, for example, let's say you have 10 hanging shirts, that will be your limit. You can allow 10 hanging shirts in that closet. And so in the future, if you want to bring something new in, that means that something else is going to have to be removed from a hanger to make space for it. Tip number 9, establish a color palette for your space or your home. This can be on a room by room basis or your entire home as a unit, but you're looking for one main base color and then a few accents to go along with it. Now, I'm not just talking about paint here, I'm talking about furniture pieces, textiles, artwork, anything that you put into your home, and finding a color palette with these main colors and things that go along with them is just going to help everything be really uniform looking, pleasing to the eye. Find some colors that you like and that work well for you. This is going to simplify things when you're looking to bring pieces into your space or your home, because you can evaluate if they work well with the color scheme. It's also going to be very handy if you have any damage to your walls and you need to repaint. You can just easily find that color and make those touch-ups. Tip number 10 is to do 10 minutes of daily tidying. 10 minutes doesn't seem like a lot of time, but all of these little moments added up consistently will make some big progress in your space. And so if you're starting out with a lot of clutter, you might choose to use the first 5 minutes of the 10 to go around your space with a basket or a box and just throw some items in there that could be decluttered or thrown away if you have trash. And then the last 5 minutes you could spend doing the tidying, maybe pushing in the chairs at the dining room table, doing a quick sweep, or making the beds. And again, just doing this consistently every single day, it's going to start up a great habit, and it's going to become almost routine that you just get to it every single day, and you'll be really amazed to see how much it simplifies your home and creates an atmosphere that you enjoy living in. The 11th minimalist tip that can help you to simplify your space is to utilize the container method. I've done an entire in-depth video about this topic, which I'll have linked down below, but essentially we're talking about containers making boundaries or limits on our belongings so that they don't get to an uncontrollable level. Now you can think about your dresser drawers or your closet, or if you have some baskets, as being these containers, and they can only hold so much, right? But it's important to note during this technique that even if you can fit something in there physically, if it's not comfortably fit in there, it's still not going to work. So jamming things into a drawer, not a good idea. You want to be able to access things easily, both in and out. The great thing about the container method is that once you've established this boundary, it really helps to keep you in check. And so once it's filled, something's going to need to come out of it in order for you to put something new in there. As Dawn from The Minimal Mom likes to say, you need to make the container the bad guy. So they're the one making the decision for you, and you don't have to feel so bad if something doesn't fit. Well, it can't fit, so I can't buy it, or I need to take something out so that it can fit in this container, because that is the limit. Tip number 12 is to get rid of knickknacks. I don't know too many people who enjoy dusting. It's kind of a thankless chore and it seems to be never ending. But what's worse than that is having to dust around tiny little objects. And so if you have a lot of knickknacks and you're finding yourself frustrated with the care and maintenance of them, consider decluttering quite a few of them, if not all of them. If you do have a special collection of some of these figurine type things, be sure to keep them behind glass so that they get less dusty. Tip number 13 is to look for efficiencies. Whether you are arranging your kitchen functionally or trying out some different furniture arrangements in your bedroom or living room, there are likely some little tweaks that you can make here and there to make your space more efficient. And the more efficient that your space is, the less time you will waste. Tip number 14 is to be aware of the silent to-do list. This is the principle that every single item in your space, in your home, is going to require some attention from you. I've summed it up before in saying that your things need you more than you need your things. You are the one who's going to be watering that plant, you are the one who will change out batteries or light bulbs, and you are the person who's going to be cleaning up the stains. Whether you have 5 things to your name or 5,000, they are all silently going to be asking for your attention. How many can you stand to listen to? Because after a while, that silent to-do list is going to start sounding pretty loud. Minimalist tip number 15, keep your shoes by the door. I'm always amazed at how many people keep their shoes in their closets, in their individual rooms. By keeping your shoes by the door, first of all, you're tracking in less dirt and grime into your space, which means you're going to simplify your cleaning routine. It's also going to simplify the hassle of having to look for things before you leave your house. So one shoe's in this room, another shoe's in this room. If you have kids, this has probably happened to you before. Having them right by the door is just so much more convenient. Now, if you prefer to wear shoes in your home or you have to wear shoes for medical purposes, you could consider having a cleaning station right by your door where you have wipes and a towel to clean off the soles of your shoes before you enter your home, or you might even have an extra set of home shoes that you wear only in your house. Tip number 16, limit the amount of personal care products that you keep. We all like to try out new products from time to time to see if they'll be a good fit for us. Maybe that's a new shampoo or a different scent of deodorant. But if you've tried something and you didn't like it, it's best to eliminate them immediately instead of keeping them around, because seeing those product bottles is just going to provide you with frustration about the money that you spent that is seemingly wasted. And also those bottles will just take up space in your cabinet where you need to access the things that you actually use. And so simplify the amount of products that you have, keep them to a reasonable level so that your care routine is also shortened. That's going to help to simplify your life as well. Tip number 17 is to evaluate the furniture pieces that you have in a space. A complicated setup with too many pieces or pieces that are too large can really close in a space, making it difficult to clean or even enjoy. Likewise, not having the right types of pieces can be a problem too. For example, having a small side table near the couch or chair to set a drink or a book can help simplify a space. So if you're frustrated with a room, ask yourself if any furniture pieces need to go, be added, or swapped out for something else. Tip number 18 is to control what you can control. I don't know how this one is going to be taken, but I think it's important to note, so I'm going to say it anyway. But sometimes we care more about something in our space or our home than our other family members do or our roommates do. If you are feeling burdened down by clutter or messiness, but the people around you just don't seem to care, then it's really going to fall on you to take initiative to remedy the situation. Because relying on other people to care as much as you do is only going to harbor frustration and resentment. So control what you can control, realizing that not everyone else has the same expectations as you do. Make your desires known, and hopefully others will join in, or at the very least, they will appreciate what you've done. And finally, tip number 19 is to make some dreams and take some notes. Maybe there are some things that you want to do with your space, but they can't be done immediately. Projects take time and money, and so if you write down an overall game plan and tackle one thing as you are able, eventually you will get it the way that you want. I think that doing a dream session every now and then is very healthy, not as a way to feel bad about your space, point out everything wrong with it, but instead to analyze and find the best ways that it can serve you, the best ways that you can simplify things that will work better for you. While implementing this tip, be sure not to play the comparison game. Turn off social media, Pinterest boards with all of those perfect looking spaces. Instead, just focus on your own space, your home, and make some decisions about how you can shape it to be perfect for you. All right, we've talked about a lot today. I want to do a quick recap of all of these minimalist tips. With these tips, I'm sure you will be able to simplify your space, your home, and learn to love it so much more. Thank you so much for watching today's video, and I hope that you'll stop by the cottage again really soon.